Part 38. The Strongest Assassin in the Server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 371. It's truly a road to death. Everyone followed the flames and walked towards the thorn forest. After a while, the fire in front gradually became less and less until it disappeared. Everyone stepped on the black ashes and chased after him. There was actually a river in front of them. The river doesn't matter, everyone can open up wasteland in Sci-fi and basically learn to swim and dive. The key is that there are some snakehead fish with sharp teeth in this river. Piranha, Elite. Level 44. HP/. Skills, Bite, Flick, Swallow. It doesn't matter, we have ships. Yechen chuckled and released 2 ships directly into the river. So, everyone got on the ship and sailed in the river. Those piranhas were so ferocious that they crawled along the wall of the ship. The scene was actually horrifying. Blow the fire. However, Yechen blew down a tongue of fire and killed a large area instantly. The elite monsters on the national map are equivalent to the boss monsters in ordinary wild areas, and have very rich experience. Yechen killed a group of people at once, and everyone in the team was very happy. The ship was still sailing in the river. Yechen killed piranhas all the way, and even killed a king piranha in seconds on the way. That was a national lord, and he had quite a lot of experience. Unfortunately, there was no first kill reward for killing the national lord in the dungeon. But it was pretty good to explode a low-level diamond. More than 10 minutes later, everyone came ashore, and there was still a forest of thorns in front of them. Yechen still set fire to it and continued to move forward. In 3 minutes, Yechen led people through the thorn forest and finally entered the forest. The forest is not hindered by the palace, and the light is very bright. Walking through the maze and entering the forest gives everyone a feeling of seeing the sun again. There are only more than 3,000 people online in the dungeon. It seems that it is not just us, but other king teams have also suffered losses. Uncle Soy Sauce glanced at the number of people online in the dungeon and said, "I don't know if we are the first team to come to the forest." In short, each group will split up and look for the boss in the forest. Oh! Hearing this, the small groups dispersed. Yechen walked alone in the forest. Although this forest is not as big as the maze, its scope is larger than the area of an average small island. Maximum diameter, over 5,000 yards. Not long after, green-skinned dinosaurs appeared in front of Yechen. Gothic minions, leaders. Level 45. HP/. Skills, Savage Crash, Copper Skin, and Iron Bones. The national map, the leader in the national copy, is equivalent to the Lord of the General Wild area. At this moment, all the green-skinned dinosaurs are equivalent to the Lords of the Wild area, the so-called Lord group. Most people would be covered in cold sweat when they saw it, but Yechen didn't take it seriously and killed him all the way. When Yechen was enjoying his killing spree, there was a sudden explosion in the forest in the distance, and then the ground began to shake. This kind of power was obviously coming from the boss. Yechen curled his lips and ran over. The boss has not been discovered yet, but a bunch of enemies have been discovered. In front of Yechen, there is a chain pit of more than 10 yards. Why is it called a chain pit? Because there are 2 pits connected. It was obviously the work of the final boss, Gothic Foot. Based on the size of the pit, you can imagine how huge the boss is. I saw that there were still flames rising above the chain of pits, which proved that the boss was of fire attribute. On the other side, Shang Wang, Jian Wuhan, Yi Qian Biao Shui, and hundreds of troops led an awe-inspiring confrontation with Yechen. Roar! Suddenly a war cry sounded, and Tank and others followed the sound and rushed over, standing behind Yechen. Everyone present was attracted by the explosion, but at this moment the boss was nowhere to be seen. Instead, they encountered an enemy. For a time, the 2 armies faced each other, creating a strong atmosphere of murder. Kill. The armies of both sides roared at the same time, their roars shook the sky, and they collided with each other. All kinds of ultimate moves were unleashed, blasting the ground and sending smoke and dust billowing. Flight. Ye Chen, Shang Wang, Jian Wuhan, and Yi Qi and Biao Shui all spread their wings and came out through the smoke. Blow the fire. Ye Chen sprayed tongues of fire downwards, killing a dozen people in an instant and accumulating combo points in an instant. But when he was about to take action, he found that Blade Storm was banned. Not only Blade Storm, but also Flying Thunder God, Hand of Hell, Resurrection, Breaking Martial Arts, Final Blow, and Shadow Strike are all prohibited. Brush. The snake wings retracted uncontrollably, losing their wings, and Ye Chen fell involuntarily. Wuhan, Ye Shen's fire resistance is extremely high, flame slash is useless, use ice roar. A shot of blood was reminded. Jian Wuhan nodded and flicked his sword. Brush. Endless ice mist blew down, and Ye Chen just stood firm on the ground, and then it was frozen again, and minus 7050 damage appeared above his head. Jian Wuhan's eyes flashed. This guy not only has high defense and ice resistance, but also has outrageously high HP. A mere thief has over 10,000 HP. It can be seen that this guy has many high-level titles, King Shang said. Click. Just when the two of them were sighing, Ye Chen's determined will was activated. Ye Chen broke through the ice and quickly blew fire to kill several enemies instantly. All of them had the effect of the source of sins, killing and restoring health, replenishing HP again. Fighting. Ye Chen's operation was completed in one go, killing people, restoring health, and turning on his fighting spirit. Because he could not fly, he ignored King Shang and others and threw himself into the enemy army. Whoosh! Jian Wuhan and Yuqiang Bioxiu swooped down from left to right, attacking Ye Chen. However, their attacks could only barely penetrate Ye Chen's red Duki, and the damage caused naturally could not threaten Ye Chen's life. Blowing fire. Then, Ye Chen killed several people in a row and instantly replenished his lost HP. LV2 Duki? Is this guy already a lieutenant colonel? Yuqiang Bioxiu said in astonishment. On island number 47, he was killed by Ye Chen once, and at that time, Ye Chen did not use Duki. In other words, facing Yuqiang Bioxiu, Ye Chen did not use his full strength. Thinking of this, Yuqiang Bioxiu's heart was furious, and just as he was about to kill Ye Chen, a shadow suddenly fell from the sky. To be precise, it was two shadows. However, the two shadows were connected together, and the range was about 10 yards in diameter. Covering the sky and the sun, the light dimmed. Yuqiang Bioxiu was startled and looked up, but saw two huge feet squeezed together, with a force of 10,000 kilograms, suddenly smashing down. Flash step. Yuqiang Bioxiu was startled, and he leaped up and ran more than 10 yards to escape. Bang! With a loud bang, the two huge feet smashed down, the mountains collapsed, the ground cracked, the flames roared, and it seemed that the whole forest was shaking. It was not until this time that Yuqiang Bioxiu saw the full picture of the boss. In fact, it was not the full picture, because the huge feet fell from the clouds above the sky. Yuqiang Bioxiu looked up and saw only thighs. The thighs were covered with red dragon scales. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 372. Gothic Feat, National Gold Lord. Level 46. HP, slash. Skills, Heavy Attack, Flame Explosion, Star Shock level 6. Gothic Feat? Could it be that this final boss is just a pair of feet? National Gold Lord, HP 130 million, Sub-Saint. Just like the Bloodshot, almost everyone present fixed their eyes on Gothic Feat. Those feet were too huge. Just a toenail was half a yard in size and shiny black. The entire sole, as well as the calf, knee, and thigh above, were all covered with hideous red scales. Everyone present did not know the secret of this final boss, except Ye Chen. Due to his experience in his previous life, Ye Chen knew that Gothic feet was really just a pair of feet. The complete Gothic is actually a combined boss. Level 4 National Dungeon, the final boss is Gothic feet. Level 5 National Dungeon, the final boss is Gothic Claw. Level 6 National Dungeon, the final boss is Gothic Wings. In the 8th level National Copy, the final boss is Gothic. It is a black unicorn, an ancient sacred beast, and in the game it is a national sacred beast. National sacred beasts are far superior to ordinary sacred beasts, but they are not at the god level, and they are not even sub-gods, so they are called super saints. Then starting from the god level, they are divided into upper god, middle god, lower god, sub-god, super saint, sacred beast, sub-saint, golden lord. In Ye Chen's opinion, Gothic and Fire Dragon are equally powerful. One day, if he can defeat Gothic, he can almost tear Fire Dragon apart with his hands. Of course, there is still a very long way to go. Gothic, that is, the complete black unicorn, has a chance to explode the Gothic suit, which is a holy weapon suit, which is undoubtedly powerful. Such as Gothic feet, Gothic claws, etc., although they will not explode suits, they will explode holy weapon materials Gothic tears. Collecting a certain number of Gothic tears can exchange for a suit. This is like exchanging hell blood for hell suits, which is the same mode. Bang! When Gothic's foot smashed down, it set off a violent fire energy, killing almost all the players within a 20-yard radius. Although the remaining players were shocked, they still focused their fire on it, with Rain of Arrows, Fire Dragon Break, Holy Light Judgment, Touch of Darkness. Countless big moves bombarded it, and above the cloud, there was an ethereal roar. Immediately, Gothic's foot was lifted up, sank into the cloud again, and disappeared. This boss, hit it and it goes away, hit it and it goes away, and it has high defense and thick blood, how can we beat it? The previous Gothic's foot smashed down, killing at least hundreds of people in seconds, staying on the ground for no more than 3 seconds, and it sank into the cloud again. I'm afraid it will smash down again later, who can bear it? Ignore the boss for now, kill Ye Chen first. King Shang looked down and shouted loudly. Now, Ye Chen has been banned from 8 powerful skills, and he is at his weakest. If they can't kill Ye Chen now, it won't be long before Ye Chen kills the Holy Word Mage, unlocking those banned skills, and then they are out of luck. Yes. The entire Merchant Alliance army roared in unison, focusing fire from a distance, charging in close combat, and attacking Ye Chen frantically. However, they thought too simply. Ye Chen's LV2 fighting spirit, at this stage, ordinary players can't break through the defense at all. Although they are the elites of the Merchant Alliance, not ordinary players, they can only barely break through the defense. Even if they focus their fire, they can't kill Ye Chen instantly. Title Source of Sin, killing people to restore blood, each kill directly restores 50% of the blood. Blowing fire. Every time Ye Chen blows fire, at least 5 players will be killed instantly in a line. Every time, when HP dropped to the bottom, it would instantly return to full. Boss, Ye Chen is too scary, he can't be killed at all. LV2 Dochi. We can barely break his defense, we can't kill him in seconds. And his blood-sucking ability is too strong. Several times, when HP dropped to the bottom, he killed a few people and instantly returned to full. Ye Chen and Xiao He acted separately, killing at least 10 players every second. Under such a fierce attack, the Shangmeng team reduced from thousands of people at the beginning. In a blink of an eye, there were less than 100 people left. After the number of people decreased, even if they focused their fire, the threat to Ye Chen became smaller and smaller. If I had known earlier, I would have banned Dochi. You know, a lieutenant colonel needs a full 500,000 merits. Who knew Ye Shen would reach lieutenant colonel so quickly and generate LV2 Dochi? Hearing the constant exclamations and screams from his subordinates below, the Shang Wang's face became more and more gloomy. He himself is also a holy word mage, and it was indeed his fault that he did not silence his fighting spirit. But this cannot be blamed on him, but on Ye Chen being too abnormal. Ye Chen has so many merits that he was promoted to lieutenant colonel and came back from the dark camp, and he still has the blood tree there to help him gain merits. So much so that he can continuously activate his fighting spirit as if it is free. Swoosh! Suddenly, a sound of breaking wind sounded, and a huge shadow fell in the area where Ye Chen was. After the last time, everyone naturally knew what this shadow represented, and they immediately broke out in cold sweats, and hurriedly gave up the fight and ran away. Seeing this, Ye Chen laughed in his heart. How could you escape from the speed of Gothic's foot without displacement and teleportation skills? Instant transfer. Even though Ye Chen was possessed by Doqi, he did not dare to be arrogant, and hurriedly ordered Xiao He to release the instant transfer. The next moment, Ye Chen and Xiao He exchanged positions, and then, with a bang, Gothic's foot smashed down, stepping on Xiao He and all the people of the Merchant Alliance. Ah! The screams rose and fell, and the people who were stepped on died. Moreover, when Gothic's foot smashed down, there was also a flame explosion. The surging fire curtain spread out, flattening all the people in the 20-yard area. It even caused an earthquake that affected 100 yards. Ye Chen was very familiar with the routine of Gothic's foot. After exchanging positions with Xiao He, he jumped up immediately. Even though he was hit by the fire curtain, he was able to avoid it with the 6th level of Zhenxing, and Ye Chen himself had a strong fire resistance, so even though he was submerged by the flames, he did not suffer any damage. This time, Ye Chen borrowed the power of Gothic's foot and flattened the Merchant Alliance team in an instant. At this time, only Ye Chen, Shang Wang, Jian Wuhen, Yi Jiang Biao Shui and a few others were left on the battlefield. As for the Night God team, that is, Tank, Big Fried Chicken and others, they had all died in battle. Huh? This time, the boss only has 1 foot. The Gothic foot has 2 feet, and they are considered a boss when they are combined. Before, they all fell at the same time, but now, only 1 foot fell, supporting the sky. Shang Wang and others were stunned. Although they were kings, it was only their first time to play this dungeon. The current boss, that is, the Gothic foot, was still very mysterious to them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 373. It turns out that the 2 feet of Gothic foot can move separately, so, do they share HP? Gothic foot will only stay for 3 seconds before returning to the clouds, so, how long will it take before it hits again? Are there any hidden settings for Gothic foot? Shang Wang, Jian Wuhan, Yuqiang Bioxu and others still don't know about all these mysteries. And on top of these mysteries, they have to face Ye Chen, who seems to be more terrifying than Gothic foot. At this time, Ye Chen defeated the Shang Meng team and killed all the holy word mages except Shang Wang. 6 of the 8 banned powerful skills were unlocked, including Blade Storm and Final Blow. Suddenly, Ye Chen sneered, used Blade Storm to transform into a battle gyroscope, and released combo points at the same time, using the final move, Destruction Storm. Ye Chen and Xiao He, 2 gyroscopes stacked together, plowed the ground all the way, and suddenly crashed into the Gothic foot, strangling and shooting flaming darts in all directions. 360 degrees, no dead angle shooting. Although most of the flaming darts were blocked by the huge Gothic foot, some still flew into the sky and shot at the Shang Wang and others. Shang Wang and others knew that Ye Chen's damage was terrible, so they flapped their wings and ran away. However, while they were running, the gyroscope could also move, deliberately avoiding the Gothic foot, shooting flaming darts, and continued to kill the three people. The speed of the flaming darts was far faster than the speed of the three people, and they were densely packed. The three people finally couldn't dodge and were unfortunately hit by the darts. Any flaming dart, hitting the three people, actually caused 1,000,000 damage. The three people were full of disbelief and fell to the ground in despair. So far, the Shangmeng team was completely destroyed. Dash. 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 The flaming darts, hitting the Gothic foot, obviously reduced a lot of damage. Obviously, Gothic foot also has a high fire resistance. But 3 seconds later, Yechen's storm of destruction still dealt Gothic foot tens of millions of damage. In just one wave, Gothic foot's strong HP dropped by nearly 1/10. There is no doubt that the 46th level Sub-Saint is terrible, but Yechen is even more terrible. Before the Hell suit was harmonized, it was so strong. 3 seconds later, Gothic foot was raised again and sank into the clouds. The interval between Gothic foot smashing down is 5 seconds to 60 seconds. Now that the 2 feet are moving separately, I can lead the 2 feet together, so that the killing efficiency is faster. Yechen pondered to himself. Unlike Shang Wang and others, he knew the routine of Gothic foot. Even if the 2 feet move separately, HP is shared. After thinking it through, Yechen started the wind step and quickly shuttled through the forest. He knew that the Gothic foot just now had been staring at him, so now he just needed to find the next one. While running fast, Yechen encountered Goth's minions, that is, those green-skinned dinosaurs, and killed them instantly. The experience of the national leader is very rich, but Yechen does not care about these experiences, but just wants to keep his combo points at full value. Only in this way, when Goth's foot hits down, he can release the finishing move in the first time. Bang! About half a minute later, Goth's foot descended from the clouds again, as if it had a force of 10,000 pounds, hitting Yechen. Flying Thunder God. At this time, Xiao Hei's instant transfer was not cooled down. Yechen glanced and shot a dart at a big tree 20 yards away. Swish. The next moment, Yechen stepped on the dart and leaned on the tree trunk. Almost in the next breath, the huge Gothic foot suddenly slammed down, the flames exploded, and the earth shook. Run fast. Yechen ran fast, taking 2 steps at a time, and approached Goth's foot like lightning. A spinning stab, dealing 1,000,000 damages, but accumulating combo points. Piercing the heart. Yechen held the red flame dagger and suddenly stabbed it into the leg covered with red scales. A red light shot out and splashed a blood mist. Dash. Another damage of over 10 million. Looking at the entire Chinese war zone, Yechen is definitely the first in terms of damage alone. Even the second place is like a natural chasm between him and him. Woo! After being hit hard again, the screams of the beast came from the sky and clouds. It resounded throughout the forest. You should know that there are more than just Yechen in the forest at this moment, there are at least hundreds of people. Now these people are also startled by the screams of the black unicorn, fearing that a real beast will land. However, Yechen's expression is still calm, because he knows that the black unicorn will not come down. Cut the throat. Hit. Stun. With less than 2 seconds left, Yechen raced against time and dealt another wave of damage just as Gothic foot was lifted up, dealing millions of damage again. Yechen continued to move forward, and 5 minutes later, he came to a grove of trees. At this time, Gothic foot had only half of its HP left. And this grove, Yechen was attracted by another explosion. Obviously, another Gothic foot was nearby. It seems there is someone else. Yechen pondered inwardly, and suddenly, within 2 points of perception, he sensed a black shadow, followed by a gust of wind. Level 50 thief. Yechen was very sure and immediately determined the identity of the person. You should know that Ye Chen has the goblin miracle detection glasses. Wherever his eyes point, whether he is invisible or disguised, his true self will be revealed. But the thief at level 50 has a rare skill, strong hidden. As we all know, stealth is the core skill of thieves, which lasts for 5 minutes, but the cooldown time is only 60 seconds. In other words, as long as thieves want, they can always be in stealth. But at this stage, as the player level increases, archers have the magical passive skill of Eagle Eye, and the stealth of thieves is useless. And Strong Hidden is a superb stealth skill, which even Eagle Eye and even the Goblin Miracle Detection eyes cannot see through. Of course, this skill lasts only a short 10 seconds, and during the duration, the movement speed is minus 50%. There are great advantages and also great disadvantages. And Strong Hidden can only be seen through by perception. Ye Chen has been very cautious along the way, and he made sure that his eyes did not miss any corner. But now within 2 points of perception, someone is obviously rushing over, and Ye Chen can't think of anything else except Strong Hidden. Tisk tisk, there are actually 50 level thieves now. Ye Chen sighed secretly. It happened so fast that the opponent was no more than 1 yard away from him. Even if he was in a strong invisibility and his movement speed was minus 50%, it was just a blink of an eye. In such a short time, Ye Chen's body had no time to react at all. With a puff, the opponent's dagger pierced through the red fighting spirit and further stabbed into Ye Chen's body. Immediately, a red lightning shot pierced through Ye Chen's body and extended more than 10 yards. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 374. Not a level 50 thief, but a level 50 assassin. Dash. A huge amount of damage appeared on Ye Chen's head, and his HP was instantly emptied, and he fell to the ground and died. Next to him, the person who killed Ye Chen also showed up. He was a cold-blooded black-haired young man, ID, Leng Tong. Leng Tong is also a king, and belongs to the same team as Lan Yan, Tai Shan, Gui Tu, and others. Google searched Kan. Obviously, Leng Tong is an assassin. The move that killed Ye Chen in seconds just now was the finishing move, piercing the heart. Now Ye Chen's HP has exceeded 10,000, and his equipment is against the sky. He also has LV2 Dochi and a black leather coat that is 30% immune to damage. He was still killed in seconds. You can imagine the damage of Leng Tong. In fact, if Leng Tong's piercing the heart hits an ordinary player, the damage will exceed 150,000. Such damage, if the hell set is harmonious, Ye Chen's piercing the heart will be twice as high as his, which is exactly Xiao Hei's part. In other words, without the hell suit and Xiao Hei, Ye Chen's damage is equivalent to Leng Tong's. You know, Ye Chen is a mid-level preacher of the upper god. And he has the feedback power of the blood tree. On these basis, Leng Tong is actually on par with him, which shows that Leng Tong is not an ordinary king, but the kind of king who pursues extreme damage like Ye Chen. Run. Ye Chen fell to the ground with a bang, and Leng Tong's eyes did not fluctuate at all, but ran like lightning, ran 10 yards and turned around. At this time, Ye Chen's resurrection happened to be activated, and he stood up again. Just like the information, he really has a resurrection skill. Leng Tong spoke silently, his figure shook, the weeds under his feet flew, but he had disappeared. 7 stars kill. According to the information, Ye Chen has absolute damage, and a slight touch will kill instantly. Leng Tong did not dare to neglect it, and directly used the thief's level 50 big move 7 stars kill. This skill is a representative skill of charging, large range, and high damage. Select a point to form a 7-star formation. All enemies within the range of the formation will be damaged in multiple stages. Large-scale group attack. And high damage and fast speed. Ye Chen has just been resurrected, and his HP is only 20%. I'm afraid he can't even last for a second. In this short period of time, he can only open the martial arts or fighting spirit at most. That's right, in such a short time, he can only open one. However, whether it is the martial arts or fighting spirit, if there is only one, he can't withstand Lengtong's 7-star ultimate. Unless both are opened, but time does not allow. With his mind turning quickly, Ye Chen had no choice but to tear a divine escape talisman again. Swish! Ye Chen teleported and disappeared. Almost in the next breath, Lengtong swept to the coordinates where Ye Chen was previously, and stabbed out with a dagger to produce a bright light, like a fire, igniting a black, 10-yard-sized 7-star formation. Then, Lengtong turned into a whirlwind and swept wildly in the 7-star formation. This is the 7 stars absolute kill, a whole set of actions, completed in just a moment. The speed is outrageous. If Ye Chen had not used the divine escape talisman, he would have been killed here. Time lasted for 10 minutes, and Lengtong swept wildly in the 7-star formation for who knows how many times. With Lengtong's damage, if Goth's foot was in the 7-star formation, it would probably lose millions of HP. However, Ye Chen borrowed the divine escape talisman and teleported out of the 7-star formation. At this moment, he stood next to the 7-star formation and took the opportunity to activate the buff, breaking Wuju, Doqi, and even self-recovery. The next second, Lengtong's 7 stars absolute kill was released, and he looked at Ye Chen in shock, and said to himself coldly, in this situation, Ye Chen can actually teleport. Lan Yan, you deserve to die. He also got the information about Ye Chen from Lan Yan. Although he didn't know what method Ye Chen used to teleport, he could guess that the cost was not low. Otherwise, he should have used it when he was about to kill him with his hidden power and piercing through his heart. However, even if he figured it out, Lengtong was powerless now. The next moment, Ye Chen rushed out, with his fighting spirit and domineering body, double blessing. In this state, Lengtong could not kill himself in seconds, but he could kill him in seconds. Next, it was a one-sided battle. Ye Chen, if the hell suit is harmonious, you are not our opponent. Gradually, Lengtong gave up resistance and sneered. The we in his mouth obviously refers to himself, Lan Yan, Taishan, Gui Tu and others. Maybe, but I will catch up with you sooner or later. Ye Chen obviously admitted that he still consumed the precious God Travel Escape Talisman when facing Lan Yan and Lengtong under the absolute damage. It is conceivable that the king is powerful. It is important to know yourself. Ye Chen will not be blindly arrogant. The harmony of the Sin suit has almost become a foregone conclusion. But it doesn't matter, there is still a long way to go, and the gap between Ye Chen's current strength and the king's is not that big. Ye Chen believes in himself. One day, even without relying on equipment bugs, he can crush the king. Seeing Ye Chen decisively admit it, Lengtong was surprised for a moment, and looked at Ye Chen with admiration. The next moment, Ye Chen raised his knife and killed Lengtong in one blow. After Lengtong died, several items exploded. Because he was also a thief, Ye Chen couldn't help but take a closer look, but was surprised to find that Lengtong exploded a wing. Black Eagle Wings, Fashion. Level 30. Movement speed add 5%. Additional skills, Flying. Before the Saint level, wings have a great advantage. Ye Chen smiled. At this stage, almost all kings have wings. He and Yao are only one step away from the king, and they also have wings. Now there is another wing. Ye Chen hopes to cultivate another quasi-king. Boom. In a trance, there was another loud noise. The sound was very close. Ye Chen hurried over, but saw a Gothic foot crushing a short tree, and then returned to the clouds. Under the short tree, there was a middle-aged man lying. The man's skin was a hide, wearing a mink coat. It turned out to be the current patriarch of the Snow clan. Ye Chen hurried over, but saw that there was only a trace of blood on the head of the Snow clan leader, and he was in a dying state. Not dead? That's great. Yachen hurriedly squatted down, took out bottles of high-level potions, and poured them into his mouth. Gradually, the HP of the chieftain's head began to recover, and he woke up. "Thank you, warrior, you saved my life." Yachen nodded and couldn't help sighing. "You know, any member of the Snow clan has the strength of level 60, and as the chieftain, he should be even more powerful. Theoretically speaking, the chieftain of the Snow clan would not be beaten so badly by Goth's Foot. The reason is that the Snow clan is extremely afraid of fire. If burned by fire, the body will even fall into a state of stiffness." The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 375. The chief of the Snow tribe is named Dan, and he is a strong warrior. At this moment, he recovered and took out a long sword of ice and snow and carried it on his shoulder. The flame energy coming out of the wormhole should be this Gothic foot. It has been found out, but we must defeat it before we can teleport out from here. Chief Dan, Gothic foot has violent flame energy. Leave everything to me. Let me attract hatred. You watch from a distance and assist. Yachen smiled. Nodding, Dan retreated a distance. About 10 seconds later, a sharp sound of breaking wind came from the sky, and then a huge shadow enveloped it. Yachen was just in the shadow, while Dan was outside the shadow. Obviously, Yachen had already attracted the hatred of Gothic foot before. But Dan still looked solemn. Don't forget that Gothic foot will also produce flame explosions when it falls down. This range is as long as 20 yards. Dan retreated rapidly. Bang! A Gothic foot smashed down, but Yachen started to fly to avoid it. Even though he was swept by the flame explosion, he didn't lose much blood. Dan, on the other hand, escaped the range of the flame explosion. At this time, Yachen completely put aside his worries, activated the blood blade, and attacked the big foot frantically. Icicle! Dan pressed the ground with one hand. Although it was more than 20 yards away, there was a surge of ice energy around the Gothic foot. The next moment, the entire Gothic foot was frozen. 3 seconds later, the Gothic foot should have been lifted up and sunk into the clouds, but now it was frozen, so it naturally couldn't be lifted up. Yachen was naturally happy about this, and attacked continuously, sweeping the Gothic foot with nearly 30 million HP, and the ice layer was shattered. The big foot did not lift up, but kicked out directly, hitting Yachen with that domineering force. Breaking the martial arts. Yachen activated the domineering body in mid-air, and withstood the impact of the big foot, as still as a mountain. Soon, another shadow came over, and it was obviously another big foot. Yachen hurriedly flew away. At this time, Gothic foot's HP was only 1/3 left. No, now it's them. They changed their attack mode and no longer sank into the clouds. Even if they lifted up, they only lifted up slightly, and then suddenly stepped down. Obviously, their attack frequency has increased, and this is the most terrifying time. The human wave tactics are useless. As many as there are, it will step on them to death. However, for Yachen, they just increase the chance of exposure. In less than 3 minutes, Yachen used a destructive storm, and shot out countless flaming darts, hitting 2 Gothic feet at the same time. A total of more than 20 million damage was dealt, and they were taken away directly. Woo! Above the clouds, a painful roar suddenly came out, and the 2 Gothic feet rustled and dropped a ground of equipment, coins, materials, etc., and lifted up again and sank into the clouds. The next moment, the radio sounded. National radio, congratulations to the player Yachen, Big Fried Chicken, Tank, Red Name Soy Sauce, Lan, for completing the first kill of the national copy Gothic Assault and receiving extra rewards, 110 million experience, 4 gold coins, 3 skill points. Team leader Yachen received 2 extra skill points. The national radio was refreshed 3 times in a row, and it was the first national copy, which caused a nationwide shock. See, 110 million experience. Even now, you can directly upgrade to 1 level. Although 4 gold coins are few, they have a lot of people. Yeshen is a lieutenant colonel and commands 500 people, adding up to 200,000 RMB. I tremble with envy. Dark camp, neutral camp, with many kings. I didn't expect that the first national copy was taken by Yeshen. 6666. I worship the high-end players in front. Nonsense. Yeshen used the Hell Suit bug to break 1,000,000 damage. Invincible at this stage. To be honest, if I had 1,000,000 damage, I would still take down the national copy. The first kill of the national copy. That's right, it's just using the equipment bug. What's the real skill? In my opinion, he still has a long way to go before he can become a king. Sour. Since you know the equipment bug, why don't you do it yourself and see if you are really as awesome as Yeshen? Planner, you. Such a big bug, it's been several days, and it's still not harmonious. Can this game still be played? I'm sorry everyone, this game planner is my son. I didn't expect to bring you an unpleasant experience. I will make him kneel on the washboard when I go back. Players across the country are all in a boiling state. Some envy Yeshen, some are jealous, and some directly criticize the planner. But these are just ordinary players. The real protagonists are in the national copy. Of course, many of them, including Shang Wang, Jian Wuhan, Yuqiang Bioxiu, Leng Tong, and other kings, have died. They are the most frustrated. In the national copy, there is only one final boss. The team that kills the boss is the only winner, and all the rest of the people and teams are losers. Not only will there be no reward, there will also be a 20% experience penalty. In the maze, the demon and his demon army were still exploring. Suddenly, the broadcast sounded, and he was startled. Then, the system prompt came. System, your team failed to challenge Gothic Assault and was forced to exit the dungeon, and all members lost 20% experience. We failed without even seeing the boss. In the snow bamboo forest, the demon looked at the black hole in front of him, and his depressed mouth twitched. In the entire snow bamboo forest, in addition to the demon army, there are other teams, a total of thousands of people. They are all losers, who were forcibly teleported out, with the same facial expressions as the demons and others. In the copy, only the Night God army is left. Of course, everyone else died in the battle. Now only Yeshen is left, standing in the bush with Dan, the chief of the Snow Clan. After the fierce battle, this bush has become a ruin, with scorched earth and big pits everywhere. Next to it, there is a teleportation array. After getting the first kill reward, Yeshen upgraded again and reached level 48. Although Tank, Big Fried Chicken and others died in the battle, they also received rewards and believed that they have also upgraded. Immediately, Yeshen turned on the automatic pickup and cleared all the items exploded by the Gothic foot. Among them, there are 3 gold equipment, 3 low-level diamonds, and 1 intermediate diamond. Diamonds are auxiliary items when equipment is inlaid. Low-level diamonds can increase the success rate by 10%. Intermediate diamonds can increase the success rate by 20%, and they are all precious items. After Yeshen finished cleaning, he looked at Dan and walked into the teleportation array together. The teleportation array was activated. White light flashed, and Yeshen, Tank, Big Fried Chicken, and Dan all appeared in the snow bamboo forest. At this moment, there were more Snow Clan warriors in the snow bamboo forest to maintain order. You know, the Night God team, the Demon Army, the Cold Eyes team, and the Merchant Alliance. These all belong to different camps. If there was no one to maintain order, the war would have started long ago. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 376. Across Iceland, the air is unusually cold. When the player arrives here, the ice resistance is reduced by 100 points. Snow warriors are good at ice-type attacks, and they are all above level 60. Now, they are definitely qualified to maintain order. Although the major king teams are powerful, if they want to cause trouble, they must first think carefully. Clan Leader. After all the Snow Tribe warriors saw Dan, they immediately rushed over and saluted respectfully. Dan nodded, and with a wave of his hand, the black hole was covered with a layer of ice and snow. Today happens to be Sunday. This Gothic attack is opened every Friday, Saturday, and July. Now that the Yagami team has won the first kill, it is closed. The next opening is next Friday. After doing all this, Dan looked at Yechen gratefully. Thank you, warrior, if it weren't for you, I would probably die there. After finishing speaking, the national broadcast rang. National broadcast, congratulations to the player Yechen for completing the hidden mission rescuing the Snow Clan chief, gaining the respect of the Snow Clan people, and receiving additional rewards, 60 million experience points, 100 gold coins, and 1 ice bead. Ice beads, holy items / consumables after use. Ice strength add 100 points, ice resistance add 500 points. Note, if the player has used this item before, it will be invalid if used again. Note, this item cannot be traded and cannot be dropped. Yechen was so happy that he took it out and drank it, and the ice attribute increased sharply. Let's go, there's no point in staying here. King Shang glanced at Yechen gloomily, waved his hand, and teleported away the large army. The other teams also teleported away directly. Yechen, you really got the first kill. As an ally, I should be happy, but as an opponent, I'm very unhappy. Yao snorted coldly and led the team away as well. At this time, only Yechen and others, as well as Dan and the Snow Clan warriors were left in the entire snow bamboo forest. Seeing that all the outsiders were gone, Danze leaned in Yechen's ear and said mysteriously, "Warrior, you are the hero of our Snow Clan. If you need it, I don't mind giving you a piece of land." The land of Iceland. Yechen was startled, then overjoyed. You know, in Iceland, players don't dare to act recklessly. This property is the same as the main city. With the land, Yechen builds a base here, and the throne will be invincible. Although Yechen doesn't think the throne will be blown up now, it's better to be prepared and have an extra insurance policy than nothing. Thank you. Yechen thanked him sincerely. Dan smiled, ordered his men to sign a piece of land, handed it to Yechen, and then left with the others. Boss, what will you do next? Seeing that everyone was gone, everyone in the team asked excitedly. After getting the first kill of a country dungeon, everyone was promoted to a level together, plus 3 skill points. But desire can never be satisfied. Now that Yechen is invincible, of course they want to take a ride. Continue to open up the land of Zhaihasia, the second stage, which is the 5th level area, Yechen said with a smile. Swish, brush, brush. White light flashed, and Yechen, together with the team members, teleported to the ship-shaped base again. Then, bypass Iceland and continue moving forward. The islands in the second stage are all monsters above level 50, national lords, and have at least 2 million HP. However, this is still seconds for Yechen. That same day, Yechen led his team and captured 10 islands. Every time the national broadcast is sounded, the whole country is shocked. Shang Wang, Jian Wuhan, shot to death. Even the kings such as Lan Yan, Tai Shan, Gui Tu, Leng Tong, etc. have no choice in the face of the powerful Yechen. They can only hope that the official will release the hell suit soon. Harmonious. In the second stage of Zhaihasia, Yuchen led the team to defeat the Lord Boss. They had a smooth journey and received various first kill rewards, and their levels soared. Although Tank and others did not have the first kill, they still had experience with the boss itself and were able to level up very quickly. Another day. In the second stage of Sci-fi, in the waters near island number 78, Yuchen made a killing blow and killed the country's lord, the crystal squid, instantly. Because it is the first kill, it will 100% drop a low-level diamond. In addition, the crystal squid also revealed a good thing. Crystal ink, gold quality / consumable. It has the effect of stimulating the birth of pets and can increase the favorability of pets. Haha, it has the same effect as Crazy Cow's milk. And Crazy Cow refreshes once a week, and this crystal squid refreshes once a day. If you keep it, my pet's favorability will not worry about it. Big Fried Chicken was overjoyed. Crystal ink is contained in an open shell, and inside is black crystal-like, shiny and sticky ink. This thing also has a birth-stimulating effect, which the baby King Kong eagle needs in the Big Fried Chicken, but he is not in a hurry to feed it to the King Kong eagle. To him, it didn't matter that the baby diamond eagle grew slower, but the Octopus King's favorability was forced to increase. On the other side, Xiaohong was also very greedy for the crystal ink. It transformed into a little red bird and kept pecking at Yuchen's ears. Yuchen caught it and said with a wry smile, "This thing can have a birth-promoting effect. The fire dragon wants you to evolve into a holy beast quickly and then kill us." Hearing this, Huo Fenghuang nodded, his little head drooped, looking unhappy. Such a humane performance made everyone laugh. Only Yuchen kept smiling bitterly. To him, the fire dragon had always been a threat. Before his strength grows, he can only hope and control Xiaohong's evolution. 5 days later. At 6 o'clock in the morning on January 22, 26 in the Gregorian calendar, the world radio rang. World Broadcasting, this system is about to be maintained and upgraded, which will take 48 hours. At that time, a new version will be open to bring you a better experience. World Broadcasting, at the same time, we would like to thank all the players for their support of Dream World. We have raised questions recently, such as, the bug of the sinful suit, the stealth of thieves, the resurrection grass of pets, and the strengthening of weak professions, etc., will be updated in the new version. For more details, please log into the official website. World Broadcasting, this system will be shut down for maintenance and upgrade in 3 minutes. We sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused to everyone. National Radio, the system will shut down in 3 minutes. Please hurry up and log off. In China, we are about to usher in the annual Spring Festival. The entire operation team of Dream World China wishes everyone a Happy New Year. A series of broadcasts came down, and players around the world were shocked. Puppet Dog. You finally gave up on the Harmony Sin suit, and the wait is gone. My son has changed his ways and I hope everyone will give him another chance. Paralysis. Guilty suit Harmony. I just made 4 pieces, what the hell are you talking about Harmony? SB upstairs, wish you a Happy New Year. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 377. Regarding the harmony of the Hell suit, it can be said that it is what everyone expects. It's finally here, just 2 days before the Chinese New Year. Although the majority of players are scolding and complaining, they are actually still happy in their hearts. Of course, there are always some people who are unhappy, such as Yuchen, John, George, Zhongben, and King. They are definitely unhappy. But these people, after all, have fun before Harmony. There are no regrets. And some people, the Hell suit is about to be finished, but they are facing Harmony. They are not unhappy, they are simply furious. What's more, they directly use the radio to complain about the planning. The end of the second stage of Sci-fi. Boss, the hell suit is finally in harmony. Everyone laughed. Since the equipment has already formed a bug, harmony is inevitable. Everyone is a game veteran, so we still know this. Yuchen held the hell suit as if cheating. After spending so many days with them, he should be satisfied. Moreover, the gains from Lang Gui Lang these days are unprecedentedly huge. Yuchen is now level 55, ranking first in the Chinese theater level list. The second place is also only level 51, a full 4 levels apart. The average level of the entire group has also reached level 50, which is a great advantage. There are also equipment, skill points. Combined as a whole, they are now not inferior to the King's team. It's long overdue for harmony. Ye Chen smiled, waved, and said, "The system is under maintenance for 48 hours. It happens to be the Spring Festival. Everyone, please go offline and relax." After hearing this, the team disbanded and everyone went offline one after another. Inside the villa, when Yuchen went downstairs and came to the living room, Aunt Wang had already invited everyone to have breakfast, but Monkey was still fiddling with something in front of the computer. Ye Chen walked over and grabbed a piece of bread from the fat man's hand, held it in his mouth, and walked towards the monkey with 2 cups of hot milk in his hand. "How is it? Have the details of the revision been released?" With that said, Yuchen handed a glass of milk to the monkey. The monkey took the milk and took a sip. He used his butt to control the swivel chair to move back to make some room for Ye Chen. He smiled and said, "It's almost done. See for yourself." Yuchen bowed slightly and looked over. Monkey helped control the mouse and adjusted the page to the position of the hell suit. He knew that what Yuchen was most concerned about at the moment was the revision of the Sin suit. "I see, the basic attributes have not changed, and an upper limit has been added." Ye Chen nodded, somewhat admiring the planning of this game. For example, the level 30 Sin suit, well, it is now the new Sin suit. The attributes of the 5-piece set are still 5 points of Sin, add 1 point of basic attack power. But there is an upper limit, which is 300 points. The upper limit of level 35 is 350 points. The upper limit of level 40 is 400 points. The upper limit of level 50 is 500 points. And so on. The so-called upper limit is the ultimate base for increasing the Sin value, and the maximum can only be increased by that amount. For example, Yuchen's Sin value is more than 200,000, but it is impossible to increase the base by tens of thousands. Even if the new Sin set is upgraded to level 55, it will only have 550 base points at most. One version creates a god. After the revision of the crime suit, it becomes useless. Yuchen, your era is over. Huo Wu also walked over with hot milk in his hands and said with a smile. The "you" in her mouth include not only Ye Chen, but also cheaters such as John and King. Ye Chen smiled bitterly and nodded. Obviously, the evil suit was indeed useless. It could be achieved with a few hundred points and a change of equipment. There is absolutely no need for you to take the risk of a super famous name just for this basic foundation. By the way, Yuchen, after you lose your absolute attack power, you are no longer so invincible. Huo Wu worriedly said, "Those kings are capable of defeating you. After the revision, you will wash away your Sin points as soon as you go online." "Don't worry, Sister Huo," the monkey said with a smile. Ye Chen, John, King, and others, as the discoverers of the bug, they have been specially commended by the official. After the revision, a one-time cleansing of Sin points will be given to them. Consumables. Hey, is there such a good thing? Hearing this, everyone ran over with great interest and stood in front of the computer to read. Sure enough, they saw the word Ye Chen on the official description. Tisk, tisk, Xiaochunzi, you are famous now. You are already on the official list, Tank exclaimed. I've already become famous, okay, Ye Chen said with a smile. Shameless. After the revision, the guilty suit is completely useless. Everyone no longer cares about this. Monkey, look at what other changes there are. Next, the monkey explained one by one. Thief stealth. This skill has been complained about by many people. Because of its long duration and short CD, thieves can always squat in the corner and do evil. It also has no side effects and has been criticized by many players from other professions. Yechen and others are considered high-end players, and the players they interact with are also very high-end. High-end players don't care about this. Therefore, the harmony of stealth is due to the voice of the bottom players, and now it has finally been revised. The effect of sneaking is generally unchanged, lasting 5 minutes, CD, 1 minute, appearing in attack state. Now there is an additional side effect. During stealth and invisibility, the movement speed is -30%. It doesn't matter, next one tank and others shouted. Yechen, who is an advanced thief, that is, an assassin, doesn't care. After all, he has experience in his previous life, and his stealth in his previous life must have been harmonious, so he has been mentally prepared. Next, it is the pet's resurrection grass. Resurrection grass can revive pets that died in battle, with no restrictions and no side effects. It's too abnormal. You should know that the pet's favorability will be deducted when it dies in battle, which is a deduction for death in battle, and has nothing to do with resurrection grass. In summary, it's too abnormal. Especially for some players with high-level pets, it's really disgusting. Now it is directly weakened, resurrection grass can be used up to 3 times a day. It's over, I'm afraid that big fried chicken is going to curse mother. Tank put his hand on his forehead. Everyone also smiled bitterly. Resurrection grass can only be used 3 times a day. Big fried chicken's combat effectiveness, no, it should be endurance, has directly decreased by an unknown amount. And the decline of big fried chicken's strength, the overall strength of the team has also declined, which is obvious. It doesn't matter. Help him get a few more awesome pets in the future. When they die, just replace them. There's no need for resurrection grass. Seeing that everyone was a little depressed, Tank couldn't help but enlighten them. You know, after a pet dies in battle, it will sleep for 24 hours. Even if resurrection grass is not used, it can be resurrected. So Tank's method is completely feasible. Capture several times more pets. When one batch dies in battle, just replace it with the next batch. However, this requires a lot of funds. Funds are not a big deal. Now everyone is not short of money. The main reason is that there are not many awesome pets now. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 378. In addition to the guilty suit, thief stealth, resurrection grass. There are many other changes in this revision of Dream World, the most interesting of which is straight. The word tough is still relatively unfamiliar to the majority of players. But Yechen was not surprised. To explain rigidity, one needs to understand rigidity first. Searched can on Google. Stiffness exists in the current version of Dream World. Because it is not an attribute, it is very obscure. The so-called stiffness, whether it is a player, NPC, or monster, will be triggered when it suffers huge damage that is difficult to resist, making the body stiff and unable to move. Especially after a crit hit, the chance of freezing is particularly high. All in all, in the current version, if you want to freeze the enemy, you have to rely on high damage. For example, Yechen, with 1 million swordsmanship, theoretically has a very high probability of making the enemy freeze. However, his damage is too high, and it is basically an instant kill, so there is rarely a chance to show it. After the revision, triggering catalepsy does not rely on damage, but on strength and intelligence. For physical output professions, the higher the strength, the greater the chance of knocking the enemy into a stupor. For magic output professions, the higher the intelligence, the greater the chance of freezing the enemy. Using skills will further increase the chance of causing stiffness. What can be expected is that through this revision, the prices of power puzzles and intelligence puzzles will skyrocket. Fortunately, they are now under maintenance, otherwise those black merchants would have gone online long ago and purchased these two puzzles in large quantities. This is stiffness. The next step is stiffness. You must know that stiffness is a real attribute. Through this revision, there will be equipment that specifically increases stiffness, and even stiffness puzzles. The higher the stiffness, the stiffer the body will be, making the enemy unable to hit, let alone stiffness. Even if it is knocked away, knocked back, or knocked down, it can be withstood. In other words, if the stiffness reaches a certain level, it is called a subordinate body. It makes the enemy unable to attack, but it doesn't have the defense of the hegemonic body, but it is also very good. In any game, the physics profession is the true sun. Tank smiled and said, "This is tough. Physical professions are useful, but magic professions are useless." Hearing this, everyone gave him a blank look. It will be maintained for 2 days. It happens to be the Spring Festival again. Let's go back and celebrate the new year. Regarding the revision, everyone has almost discussed it, Yuchen said at the right time. Cheers ring out. The Spring Festival is a traditional festival in China, and once a year, it is the best opportunity for people traveling abroad to reunite with their families. At that moment, Tank, Xiaoro, and others took action. Seeing everyone going upstairs and packing their luggage, Shen Kimian, who had always been cheerful, suddenly turned into a bitter look. "You are so kind. You can all go home to celebrate the new year. No one will accompany me here," Shen Kimian said resentfully. The situation in her family is quite special. Her mother died young and her father was busy with various social activities and social interactions. Shen Kaijin is a rich girl, so the Spring Festival is the loneliest time for her. The only brother, King Shang, although he doted on her, was also a workaholic. "It's okay. If I don't go home, I'll stay here with you," Monkey said with a smile. From beginning to end, he never left the computer desk. Beside the sofa, Huowu and Kitty were packing simple luggage. Huowu said, "My home is very close to here. Xiaomao and I can come back to stay with you tomorrow, be good." Yechen chuckled and said, "Since everyone has plans, I'll leave first." Waving his hand, Yechen left freely. "Why do you say free and easy?" "Because he doesn't have a single piece of luggage. If anything, he had a red rubber bracelet on his hand. In fact, this bracelet is the terminal of Dream World. It is the same product as the smart helmet and game storage. Of course it is not pure rubber. It is essentially a silver mechanical bracelet, but it is covered with a layer of red soft rubber. This bracelet is the latest product from the developer of Dream World and is priced at $1 million each." Yechen didn't buy this, but it was officially given as a gift after he won the championship of the martial arts tournament camp. Today's technology has indeed developed to an unimaginable extent. In his previous life, Yechen was nothing more than a frog in a well, and his contact area was too small. He has never heard of anything like a smart bracelet. But in this life, he has changed his destiny against nature and reached an unimaginable height. With this smart bracelet, he no longer needs a game compartment and can enter the game anytime and anywhere. At 2:30 that afternoon, at the airport, Yechen held flowers in her hands and saw the beautiful figure in the crowd who would wake her up with a smile every time she thought of it. "Yechen, here, here," Yun Chiener waved her hand, her face full of joy. Yechen trotted over, Yun Chiener blushed slightly, took the flowers, and then the two hugged each other tightly in the crowd. The young lovers around her looked at her with envy. The girl looked at the flowers in Yun Chiener's hands with envy, and she looked at her boyfriend with anger. The boy smiled bitterly. After a while, Yechen took Yun Chiener's little hand, walked out of the crowd, and took a taxi to Yun Chiener's home. "Daughter-in-law, Qian is back. Yuchen, what a good boy. Yun Haitian greeted the two of them outside the hospital, shouted to his wife, and then patted Yechen heavily on the shoulder. His eyes were full of relief and appreciation. Soon, a woman came out with tears in her eyes and hugged Yun Qian. After letting go, the woman looked at Yechen with satisfaction. In just over 3 months, Yechen had undergone a drastic transformation. Just standing there humbly, his aura was more than 1 level higher than Yun Haitian. Uncle and aunt, Happy New Year. Yechen smiled and handed the New Year gifts to the woman. Yun Haitian waved his hand and a group of people entered the house. You know, the snow is melting outside and the weather is relatively cold. His good daughter just came back from the United States, so he can't let her get cold. Soon, the wine and food were served. Yechen, it's a rare New Year, why don't you take the 2 elders over? Yun Haitian was very happy today, and said while pouring a glass of wine for Yechen. Yechen patted Yun Qian's back and smiled at Yun Haitian and his wife, isn't it not the marriage yet? Hearing this, Yun Qian's pretty face suddenly blushed with shame, and she rolled her eyes at Yechen. Yun Haitian and his wife laughed. Okay, Yun Haitian said 3 okay words in a row, and said with a smile, then we'll talk about it after we get married. The family happily ate the New Year's Eve dinner. The meal lasted for several hours, and then the woman took Yun Qian to the room to have a female conversation. Outside, Yechen and Yun Haitian kept clinking glasses. Yun Haitian vaguely mentioned that he had deliberately made things difficult for Yechen in the past. It's all in the past, uncle. If jade is not polished, it will not be useful. I still have to thank you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The strongest assassin in the server. Author, B.A. Wang Shi-san. Chapter 379. Yuchen's transformation made his mentality become calmer. In the past, Yun Haitian's doubts about himself were only for the sake of his daughter's future. Yechen knew this very well, not to mention that the 2 parties would be in law sooner or later, so the previous embarrassment would naturally disappear. Qian, you are studying in the United States now, and you are separated from Yuchen. In the room, 2 women, one large and one small, were sitting next to each other on the edge of the bed. Yun Mu took Yun Qian's little hand and said worriedly, generally, young lovers want to stick together all day long, and they are like glue. Is it really okay for you to do this? Don't worry, Mom, Yuchen and I are both chasing our dreams. Even if we live in 2 places, we will only cheer for each other and there will be no barriers. Yun Qian smiled. You still don't understand what Mom means. Yun Mu sighed and said, didn't you call me before and say that boys in school often pursue you? Yes, but I already have Yuchen, so I will definitely not agree. Mom, where are you going? Yun Qian said angrily. No, of course I know that my daughter is beautiful and outstanding. It's normal for someone to chase her, Yun Mu whispered, but have you ever thought about it? Yechen is also outstanding and girls will definitely like her. Mom, you mean, you can't, Yuchen can't, he is not such a person. Yun Qian waved her hands, dumbfounded. Daughter, you place too high a value on a man's determination. You are excellent, but your real girlfriend is not around. If a vixen throws herself into your arms, most men won't be able to resist it, Yun Mu said. Mom, after all these years, Dad still doesn't love you as much as before. Yun Qian snickered. He dares. When he was very poor, I followed him regardless of family opposition. How dare he betray me? Yun Mu said proudly. Yes, I believe Yuchen is the same. Yun Qian smiled, grabbed her mother's hand, and said with a smile, it's just that my daughter is far away in the United States and is often no longer with you, so she cannot be filial to you and her father. Silly boy, as long as you live well, your parents will be happy. Yunmu held her daughter in her arms distressedly and helped her comb her hair. While Yuchen and Yun Haitian were chatting happily, the two women walked out with tears in their eyes. After a brief reunion, the sadness of parting again became even more fermented. Yechen, the sky is getting dark, so don't go back today, Yunmu persuaded her daughter who had just gotten off the plane. Originally, Yechen and Yun Chiener had agreed to return to Yechen's home after the dinner here. But now, Yechen looked at Yunmu's red eyes and couldn't really say anything. He could only look at Yun Chiener with a wry smile. Yun Haitian said, "Daughter-in-law, let's not be too selfish. Chien finally came back. She can't just see us, she also has to meet her in-laws." Hearing this, Yunmu nodded. A group of people slowly crowded towards the door. At this time, the sky was getting dark, and fine snow was falling in the sky. The assistant Yun Haitian called had already driven the car to the door. Yuchen held an umbrella and walked down the steps first, then carefully helped Yun Chiener into the car, turned to the two elders and smiled, "Uncle and Aunt, we are leaving first." The scene just now, especially the caring look that Yechen looked at Yun Chiener, was seen by the two elders, and they felt a lot relieved. "Go, Yechen, you often look at me when Chien is not around. Come and eat at our place." "Must." Yuchen smiled and got into the car. The car gradually drove away under the eyes of the two elders. On a snowy night, the car drove slowly. Yuchen's hometown. It's no longer that small house, but the newly purchased conjoined suite that Yuchen bought. It has been renovated and brand new. Spring couplets were pasted on both doors, and red lanterns were even hung on the ceiling lights, exuding joy. At around 11 o'clock in the night, the small county town was filled with the sound of firecrackers. Yuchen's parents, dressed in cotton-padded jackets, stood outside the door rubbing their hands in the snow and waiting. Suddenly, the dull sound of a locomotive crushing the snow was heard. The two elders looked at the sound with joyful faces, and just in time a dazzling white light swept over them. The second old man raised his hand to block the situation and walked over happily. "Mom and Dad, we're back." Yechen, dressed in a black coat, took Yun Chiener, who was as beautiful as Snow White in a white coat, out of the car and smiled at the two elders. "Happy New Year, Uncle and Aunt." Yun Chiener also greeted politely. "Okay, just come back." Mother Ye was smiling and hurriedly held Yun Chiener's hand to greet her. "Go in first, it's cold outside, don't freeze." Yes Yong rubbed his hands and said with a smile. Inside the house, Yuchen and Yun Chiener drank a bowl of hot soup to dispel the cold. The family chatted harmoniously until late at night. The next day, although the small county town was not as noisy as the big city, it was very lively due to the strong solar terms. Yun Chiener has probably never been to the countryside so far away in her entire life. The environment in a small county town feels very novel to her. During the day, Yuchen made snowmen with her and walked around. In the evening, because of the New Year's Eve, there were deafening firecrackers early. Yuchen took Yun Chiener and accompanied the neighbors' children to set off fireworks and firecrackers together. The second elder looked on, smiling from ear to ear. "Nobita, Lao Wang, this is your son and daughter-in-law. She is so handsome and a perfect match." The parent of the neighbor next door praised the two elders, which immediately made them feel as sweet as honey. Yechen was holding a child and setting off fireworks when his cell phone suddenly rang in his pocket. He quickly gave the fireworks to the child and took out his cell phone. It was a video call from Tank. After the call was connected, Tank, Monkey, Huowu, Kitty, and Shen Kaijin filled the screen, and everyone shouted Happy New Year together. Yechen smiled, called Yun Chiener over, and they all returned a blessing. "Yechen, whose child are you holding? Could it be that you both have children?" Tank laughed. On the other side of the screen, those faces all laughed together. Yechen couldn't help laughing, but Yun Chiener blushed. A beautiful family with living parents, a lovely and beautiful girlfriend, and a group of free and unrestrained brothers and friends. Ye Chen felt warm in his heart and felt that there was no regret in his life. The ultimate wish was to reach the strongest in the game and dominate the entire server. New Year's Eve, that night. The sound of firecrackers in the small county town continued until 4 a.m., making it impossible for people to fall asleep. Ye Chen and Yun Jian'er watched the Spring Festival Gala with the two elders in the living room, and then went upstairs to rest. 2 rooms next to each other. Ye Chen was lying on the bed, chatting with Yun Jian'er through the door. This scene was quite romantic. Suddenly, Ye Chen asked, "Dear, are you cold?" Yun Jian'er, "Cold? Your hometown is so cold." Ye Chen, "Great, open the door, we won't be cold if we sleep together." The strongest assassin in the server. Author, Ba Wang Shi-san. Chapter 380. New Year's Day, Seaview Villa. A luxury car stopped outside the door, and immediately a man in his 30s, well-dressed and with an impressive appearance, got out of the car. He walked to the back of the car, opened the trunk, and took out large and small packages of New Year's gifts. As if thinking of his precious sister's joyful expression after seeing the gift, King Shang couldn't help but curl up a smile of pleasure. Little sister, open the door quickly, Big Brother will personally wish you Happy New Year," King Shang shouted through the door, carrying large and small bags. After shouting several times, there was no movement in the room. King Shang couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and said angrily, "This girl, after so many years, she still hasn't gotten over her habit of sleeping in." Because of the Spring Festival, the chef Uncle Lei and the nanny Aunt Wang are both on holiday. King Shang knew this. He smiled bitterly and shook his head. He put the big and small bags in one hand and took out his mobile phone with the other hand, just about to call Shen Kimian. Click. The door actually opened. King Shang was a little happy. He looked up and saw a man wearing a blanket and disheveled clothes, leaning against the door and looking at him curiously. Tank. King Shang recognized the person. After all, Ye Chen was famous now, and Tank was Ye Chen's right-hand man. King Shang still knew Tank. Suddenly furious. He really couldn't figure out why this Tank was in his little sister's villa and was disheveled. "Bastard, why are you here?" King Shang roared. The scene in front of him made him have an unbearable imagination. Could it be that his precious sister was being tanked? Shaking his head, King Shang did not dare to think about it anymore. Tank was startled. He looked at King Shang with a question mark on his forehead. After all, there was a big difference between King Shang in reality and in the game. It took a long time for Tank to react. He lowered his eyes and looked down. He immediately knew that King Shang had misunderstood something. He smiled awkwardly. He knew that with his eloquence, the other party would probably punch him before he could explain clearly. When he was done, he gave way to the bachelor and allowed King Shang to enter the house. Snort. King Shang snorted. After entering the room, he raised his eyes and was stunned. The house was in a mess, beer bottles were scattered on the floor, and more importantly, besides the Tank, there were several outsiders. King Shang's face turned gloomy. He recognized these people as almost all familiar faces around Ye Chen. "Brother, they are my friends." Seeing King Shang's serious face, Shen Kimian immediately walked over, holding his arm and acting coquettishly. "Friends? They are not worthy of being your friends at all," King Shang said coldly. "The Shen family is a family at the top of society. Their family education is strict and it is difficult for outsiders to get close to them." Looking at everyone present, King Shang believed that only Huo Wu was qualified to be his sister's friend. But now that he was affected by his emotions, he directly despised him. Hearing this, Huo Wu, Tank and others' expressions darkened. "Brother, why are you like this? You have loved me the most since I was a child. Now I only have a few friends." How can you say that? Shen Kimian said angrily, throwing away King Shang's hand. Why am I like this? King Shang was startled. Ask yourself, he has loved his sister since he was a child, and he has no reason to be angry if his sister makes a few friends casually. However, Yuchen is now rising in the game, looming as a threat to his business alliance's status. Tank and Huowu were Yuchen's people. He was temporarily affected by his emotions and took off his anger. But he, King Shang, always said exactly what he said, and his words were like water being poured out. It was impossible for him to take it back. Kikai, it seems your brother doesn't welcome us. Thanks for taking care of us during this period, I think it's time for us to leave. Huowu smiled. At this moment, she was the only one who could still keep smiling. Humph! King Shang snorted, his good mood was ruined, he put the gift on the sofa and walked away. A few seconds later, the sound of a car starting sounded. I'm sorry, my brother is like that, a perverted girl, I hope you don't mind. Also, can you not leave? Shen Kimian said pitifully. Deliberately joking and slandering his brother, trying to resolve the embarrassment in everyone's hearts. Everyone has said that, how can we still have the honor to stay here? But Kikai, we will always be good friends and good sisters. Huowu stepped forward and hugged Shen Kimian, then let go and said, the monkey called for a car. Tank and Kitty packed the boys' and girls' luggage respectively. On the runway outside the villa, King Shang turned on the automatic driving and leaned back on the seat. He rubbed his eyebrows a little gloomily. He felt ashamed of his gaffe just now. He, the majestic Shang King, was actually influenced by a little kid like Ye Chen. The more he thinks like this, the more disgusted he becomes with Ye Chen. He will definitely not show mercy in the upcoming battle between the camps. On the other side, Ye Chen was woken up by Yun Qian's cell phone ringing in the morning. Buzz buzz. The phone rang and vibrated at the same time. Yun Qian stretched out a hand to grab the phone and answer the call. My dear, your Chinese Spring Festival is really lively, Mary said. Mary, are you in China now? Yun Qian's tone contained a hint of surprise. That's right. Both parties communicated in English, and Ye Chen couldn't understand it at all, until Yun Qian hung up the phone and said, Ye Chen, my good sister in the United States came to see me. She hopes to meet you. Shall we go? Under the reluctant eyes of his parents, Ye Chen took a ride with Yun Qian to LH City. In a European-style coffee shop, Ye Chen met Yun Qian's so-called good sister. She was a black girl. Although she was dark, her facial features were very delicate and she could be considered a beauty. But next to the black girl Mary, there was a handsome guy with blonde hair and blue eyes. That guy was tall and straight, over 1.9 meters tall, with white skin and a typical European tall, rich and handsome man. Yun Qian frowned when she saw him, and looked at the black girl Mary, her expression no longer friendly. My dear, I'm sorry, you know how difficult John is. Mary smiled bitterly. Oh, beautiful and lovely classmate Yun Qian, this time, in your motherland, in your hometown, we meet again by chance.